All right, warm-ups, please. Everyone take out a sheet of paper real quick. Real quick. Title your warm-up, Denotation and Connotation. Here's the question. What is the relationship between these two pictures? What is the one word that these particular pictures represent? Within your particular groups, I want you to take 60 seconds out. I want you to just have one recorder per group. And I want you to discuss what each picture meant and what word is represented between these pictures. 1 minute, 60 seconds starting now. Tell me what the first picture means, what the second picture means, and then what word is represented between those two pictures. 30 seconds. Ten seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's take a look. The first picture is a person with 3 or 4 pennies in between their 2 fingers. What does that particular picture represent? Faja, yes.
Me, I think it means to go with the lowest price because it's pennies. It's
okay. Somebody else? What do you think that picture means with the person that has the pennies between them? Destiny, yes.
Well, what I think it means is that a person is using 4 cents to buy something and they're cheap.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, what about the picture where it says lowest price guarantee, the second picture? What does that mean? Yes, sir. And then Jeff, go ahead.
Well, the second picture, what I think it means is I think it's a low price guarantee, just like the 4 cents. So, so it's a cheap price for whatever you want to buy or a discount or a deal that's for something.
Okay, Jeff, did you want to comment on it?
Yeah, it means that whatever you're gonna buy is gonna be inexpensive.
Okay, very good. So if the first picture represents pennies in between the 2 fingers, and the second picture represents the lowest price guarantee, what is the relationship between those 2 pictures? In other words, what word do those 2 pictures represent? Aaron, yes. One word.
Cheap.
Cheap, very good. So the first picture represents what we classify as the connotation of a word. The second picture represents what we classify as the denotation of the word. And we're actually going to take a look what those 2 terms mean today and how an author uses a relationship between those 2 in order to determine meaning in a text. Okay? All right, you put your warm-ups away. All right, the objective for today, students will be able to define the difference between denotation and connotation and examine their global and cultural impact on the contextual meaning of a word with 80% accuracy. The Common Core Standard is L8.5C. Students will be able to distinguish among connotations of words with similar denotations. Remember, we talked about the fact that the standard simply is a skill that they want you to actually learn or know by the time you leave 8th grade. Today is the 4th, I believe. The agenda for today, review on lesson on characterization, mini lesson and notes on denotation and connotation, global and contextual context of denotation and connotation, center small groups, summary and exiting. So let's review what we talked about last class period. We've been looking at characterization. Number 1, we talked about types of characters. These characters are used in fictional and non-fictional stories. Examples include dynamic character, static character, major character, minor, protagonist, and antagonist. And we're simply saying that whenever you have a text, whether fictional or non-fictional, these type of characters generally come up. These are the characters that the author uses in order to perpetuate the conflict of the story, the plot of the story, the setting of the story, in order to facilitate the reader's understanding. Now, some examples include dynamic, which is pretty much a character that changes. Okay? Whereas a static character is a character that stays the same. Then you have things such as the major character that kind of is the character that's in the story the most, that perpetuates the conflict or the problem. Minor character that kind of supports the major character. And protagonist, antagonist, which is basically the hero and the opposing character to the hero. We looked at the story, 7th grade by Gary Soto, and I had you to choose 4 examples of types of characters and compare them to the characters within the actual story. And then from there, we also completed an extension activity related to the story where some students completed summaries, some students illustrations, some students questioned the author, etc., in order to facilitate your further understanding of the text. Now, let's take a look at today's lesson, denotation. Oscar, read the definition for denotation for me.
Denotation, the dictionary or literal meaning of the word.
Okay, so when we talk about denotation, we simply put, if you go and open up a dictionary, on today's terms, if you go to dictionary.com or merriam-webster.com, this simply means the definition that the dictionary is going to give you. And one of the ways that I tell the students to remember denotation is that denotation begins with a D, dictionary begins with a D. So when you think about denotation, you simply think about the word dictionary. Okay? Let's look at connotation. Joanna, read connotation, please.
Attitude, emotion, or feeling associated with a word as seen with its use in one's culture,
Geography.
language, and friendship interaction.
Okay, so connotation is the definition that we put to a word based off of how we use it in our everyday exchange. So the connotation of a word may not necessarily be the same definition as what you see in the dictionary, because we have stated that based off of our exchange within our culture, amongst our friends, our family, this is the definition by which we have applied to this word. So let's put this in practical everyday example. Let's look at this first example, the word dump. Jasmine, read the denotation or dictionary meaning of dump.
Denotation, a place for disposing garbage.
Disposal. Okay. All right, so when I look up dump in the dictionary, it's going to say a place where I put garbage. But if we are talking in everyday language amongst one another, the connotation of that word would not have anything to do with getting rid of garbage. It has to do with what? Aaron, read that point, please.
A place that is in bad condition due to lack of repair. Example, the house is
Okay, so what I've done is I've given you two pictures. The first picture represents the denotation, which is an actual city dump. And the second picture represents the connotation, which is a house that's a dump. So in both instances, we see that the connotation, the denotation of the pictures looks about the same, but in its everyday definition or interaction, there are actually two different words. Okay? So you have to keep in mind that whatever you look up in the dictionary may not necessarily be what you have given a definition based off of your everyday exchange. Let's look at another one, gun. Denotation of gun. Jeff, read the denotation, please, sir.
A weapon that fires bullets.
Now, you see I chose Yosemite Sam and Bugs Bunny. I'm a kid at heart. So, and I like cartoons. So, Bugs Bunny's gun says 9-shooter, and Yosemite Sam's gun says 10-shooter. And you know, if you ever watch Bugs Bunny, Yosemite Sam is always trying to outdo Bugs Bunny in some way, shape, or form, even though Yosemite Sam always loses. But in that particular case, we illustrate the denotation. Why? Because if I looked up gun in the dictionary, it would say a metal weapon used for firing bullets that can cause injury or death. Yes, Aaron? Okay, and read for me the connotation.
Large muscles on a person. A guy would say, look at my gun.
Okay, so the connotation of gun would be a person who is extremely muscular, which is why I have a picture of a bodybuilder's muscles. Now, you can clearly see that the denotation of a weapon is totally different than the actual large muscles, even though in today's terms we would actually classify our muscles as weapons if we were using them, let's say, in boxing. But outside of that, you would literally say that the connotation of a word deals with muscles, whereas the denotation of a word simply deals with the actual literal definition. Okay? All right, one more example. Hog. Hog. Aaron, read the denotation, and Destiny, read the connotation.
Denotation, a hoofed animal.
Or pig, and then read the connotation.
Connotation, a large motorcycle, impressive car. Example, he is riding driving a hog. Example, Harley Davidson.
Okay, so if I looked up the definition of hog in the dictionary, it would simply say pig, basically. Okay, oink oink, bacon, you know. All right? But in our everyday conversation with one another, it is literally a motorcycle or a muscle car. You ever heard the term motorcycle referred to as a hog? You ever heard the term? No, never heard of it? Okay. Like, for example, Harley Davidson is a very reputable motorcycle company. They make some of the best motorcycles in the world. And literally, whenever you have people riding motorcycles, they'll say, I'm riding a hog. Okay, let's listen out for that term. And then if you have a muscle car, the same thing goes. You will literally have somebody saying, hey, I'm driving a hog. I'm driving a muscle car. Okay? And as you can see, a motorcycle and a muscle car is totally different than a piece of bacon. Okay? So in either case, we clearly see, again, denotation, dictionary, which you will look at literally, connotation, how we use it in our everyday language. Yes?
So basically, it's like one is slang and then one is like.
That's pretty much what you said. As a matter of fact, if you look up those words like hog and you looked up the other examples that I gave you, in a dictionary you'll see a word that says informal, and that's just another way of saying slang. So they'll say that this is not the literal definition of this word, but this is how it's used in slang or in people's everyday language. Okay. All right. So real quick in your groups, I'm gonna give you about 90 seconds. I want you to get one writer, and I want you to discuss the denotation and connotation of the following words: hot, H-O-T, and chick. So what is the dictionary definition of hot? What is the connotation of everyday language of hot?
Can we use the dictionary?
Nope, I want you to discuss amongst your groups. Okay, chick, the same thing. Denotation, connotation. Because you should know what these words mean if I use the dictionary. I hope that's in 8th grade and you should know what these words mean. All right, 90 seconds. Sorry now. Hot and chick. Yes. Ma'am.
Like a baby bird.
60 seconds.
Baby chicken.
What? I can't move because Yes. Okay. 30 more seconds, please. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, this group here, to my right. Hot, denotation, yes.
Denotation would be like intense heat.
Okay. Back, denotation,
Something that's more
something that's warm to the south.
extreme heat.
Extreme heat. Okay, what about the connotation of hot? Yes.
Someone that has some good-looking person.
Okay. Okay, hot, so good looking, sexy.
Someone that looks good.
Somebody's look good, yes.
A cute person.
Cute person. Okay, very good. What about chick? Denotation.
A baby chicken.
Okay, so baby chicken. Same thing. Baby chicken. Baby
Baby
chicken.
chicken.
Pretty much agree. All right, what about the connotation?
Girl.
Okay, girl, female,
Girl.
woman. But is it just any female or any woman?
It could be
Usually
other
beautiful
ones.
or attractive, normal.
Oh, they
apply to that. Okay. All right. So according to what you said, I pretty much agree with you. Denotation of having or giving off heat, connotation attractive person. For chick, denotation a small bird, or connotation attractive female. Okay. All right. So in addition to denotation and connotation, we also need to learn that the connotation, our everyday usage of the word, can be both positive and negative. Okay. Now you may say, well, how do you determine whether it's positive or negative? It depends on how the person will receive the usage of the word. So let's look at the examples here. Confident, proud, conversational, talkative. Let's look at the first two sets. Confident, proud. Which one do you think is positive? Which one do you think is negative? Explain why. Yes.
The negative would be confident, and the positive would be proud. Because confident, it could be either good or bad. Like a person that's too confident has too much pride.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you're proud, then that you're just proud. You can be proud of somebody, or just proud of yourself for doing something.
Okay. What do you think?
I disagree with Jeff. I think proud is the negative side, and then confident is the positive side.
Okay, why?
Because when you say proud, somebody's proud, that means they're too proud of themselves, that they're like they're self-absorbed
Mhm.
themselves. But confident means that you believe in yourself, that you can do it, and confident means like you get good.
Okay. Akeem, Aaron, Bajay.
Well, I'll say talkative as in.
Okay, you want to? Well, let's stick with the confident, proud one first. Stick with that.
Confident problem.
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, I think confident is negative because you might have too much confidence.
Mhm.
And then I think proud is because like you actually believe in yourself.
Okay, Aaron.
They can go both ways, but confident to me is like the negative because you might be cocky,
Mm-hmm.
and proud you just happy about it.
Okay, Bajay, what you think?
I think that proud is
Mhm.
confidence is negative.
Okay.
Because you could be confident either way. Like, you can be confident in killing somebody. You can be confident in getting some money. You can be proud. Like, it could work both ways.
All right. Generally speaking, confident is positive and proud is negative. Now, the reason that that's the case is that when you talk about proud, the word that generally comes to mind is pride or prideful. When somebody is prideful, they generally are cocky, haughty, or high-minded, or stuck up. Whereas, or still, if I'm confident about myself, that means I have a sense of self-esteem, value, and worth. Okay?
But it can be the other way around.
Now, I mean, like I said, that's why I say it depends on how the person receives it. So there's no, cookie cutter or right or wrong per se. But when we talk about the connotation, we're pretty much looking at overall how it would probably be received. Now, is that always going to be 100%? Okay, but majority of the time, how is it? The next two, conversational, talkative. Ajay, what do you think?
Okay. I think that talkative is the negative, conversational is positive.
Mm-hmm.
Because people that talk too much, like, they tend to keep on carrying a conversation for a long amount of time for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And people that have a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
like, they can talk to you and then stop when they're supposed to stop.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I
Awesome.
was gonna say conversational is positive because normally when if you're conversational, you can keep a conversation going and you can help it.
Right.
Well, if you're talking, you're just talking too much.
Okay. Anybody else? Destiny, and then Aaron, and then Devin.
I think conversation is a positive and talkative is the negative because, like Oscar said, conversational means like you keep the conversation going.
Mm-hmm.
Talkative, you just want to talk because you want to get yourself to talk or you want to keep talking around.
Okay, Aaron.
I would say conversation. Well, how is it conversation?
Conversational.
Conversational is the positive, and talkative is the negative.
Mhm.
Talkative is the negative because it's just like you talk too much, you got in your mouth.
Pretty much.
And conversational, it's like you can like when it's quiet, you can build up a conversation and keep it going.
Okay. And Deborah.
Conversational is positive because you can have a civilized conversation, and talkative, like, you can talk too much and like be talking about negative stuff. With conversational, you can be talking about positive.
Okay. Akeem, and then back to Aaron.
Well, I can say that the conversation can actually be negative because 5 minutes of conversation was about negative things
Okay.
that you don't like.
Interesting point.
And talkative can be like you actually talking about good things.
Okay.
You know, always have to be better.
Okay. Aaron, yes.
Talkative, it could, oh my goodness, I keep saying it. Oh yeah, talkative could be like you just, when you talk so much that you don't even let the other person get a chance to say it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I would have to agree with you guys 100% to say that conversational is more of the positive, because conversational seems to indicate that you have a sense of intelligence about yourself, whereas talkative seems to be where you're just kind of rambling on. You don't know when to be quiet. Shut up. All right. So here's what I want you to do in your groups. 90 seconds. Disabled, crippled, babe, stunning. Which ones are positive? Which ones are negative? Discuss that amongst your groups. 60 seconds.
Disabled is
So people positive and negative.
Yeah,
30 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. My first group right here, disabled, crippled. What you think? Yes.
What we think is disabled is positive, crippled is negative because when you tell somebody they're crippled, it means like they can't walk, they're unable to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say they're disabled, it means like they could do something, they're just disabled, but they still could do what they want to do.
Okay.
We said disabled is the positive
Mm-hmm.
and crippled is a negative. And crippled's negative, like what I'm talking about, like if you tell an old person they're crippled, they think that they can't do nothing by you tell them they're disabled, it kind of makes like just tell them they can't do something in one area. Not that it's not always.
Okay. Over here we're saying.
We put crippled as a positive and disabled as a negative.
What?
Because disabled, we thought we like. We're gonna switch it around.
Let's switch it around. Go ahead.
I don't know.
So you saying disabled is positive and crippled is negative?
I'm not sure. Cause you
Yes,
smiling,
yes,
but you
we-
look
No,
like
I'm
the
just.
answer, no.
I'm just. So
Okay.
yeah. So
Yes, because when you
Okay.
crippled, like you struggle more than you have to, like when you walk or like hands on task, and like when you're disabled, it's like either you have like a walker or a cane, and like you can still get around.
Right. So disabled is considered a positive and crippled is considered a negative. And think about it from this standpoint. Does disabled always mean that there's a physical problem?
No, but you got broken your arm.
Right.
That's
It could be mental. Okay. It could be emotional. So when we talk about disabled tends to be more positive because it's not always limited to something physical. When we think about crippled generally always implies something either physical or a sense of helplessness about yourself. What about babe and stunning? Yes.
Okay.
And then I'll come back there. Okay. Go ahead. What you think?
We put stunning as positive, babe as negative.
Okay.
Because stunning means that you cute and
Mm-hmm.
like you
Giving
could
out
be cute to overall people.
Mm-hmm.
And a babe is like you could just be cute to that one person.
Okay. My group in the back. What you think?
Okay, we said babe is the negative, and stunning is a positive because stunning is like more appropriate for the man, but
Mm-hmm.
babe is like it's kind of disrespectful.
Street
But
tone.
it depends on how the person thinks it.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Well, we say babe is the negative, stunning is the positive because if you let's say you're walking down the street, you walk up to a stranger, you say, I like that dress, it's kind of you look quite stunning. But if you say walk up to a stranger and say your dress, you look like a babe, it doesn't seem right because first you don't know the person, and second of all, it's not a great term to use for a lady or a black term for a girl. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay. I have to agree. Stunning generally is the more positive one because it makes it seem like somebody is really radiant, really good looking. Whereas babe, depending really on the context, but overall, if I come up as a male, if I come up and say, hey, what's up, babe, to somebody who I don't know, I'm not in a relationship or a friendship, as the females, would you take that as a positive or a negative?
I say it's negative. I want to talk about
Take it as negative because who am I to be coming up calling you that if I have no rapport or
And I don't
relationship?
know you.
But if I come up to you and say, man, you just look stunning today.
No, that's you going to
No,
call somebody
I-
babe if you in the street you trying to spit game.
Well, yeah. I think honestly, stunning would probably get you a little bit more grounding points than babe because stunning is just like you're just gorgeous, just attractive, like
It's kind of like
the
when they
best
call
thing
you
since
out
sliced
about
bread. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
cat calling.
Right.
And
So,
girls don't like that.
right. Well, they don't. I just use that for examples. But either way, what?
The sliced bread.
Oh, it's the best thing since I don't know if people still use that. That was just the thing that came to
Use
mind.
what?
The best thing since sliced bread.
What?
You never heard that term before?
No.
When they say you're the best thing since sliced bread, it just means that you're the bomb. You're just like great.
So
You're
you
awesome.
like
Like
the
you like the top dog. Like nobody is ahead of you. Nobody. You know, you're just the top of the top, best of the best.
You
Basically.
the best thing since
But the top bread is disgusting.
Sliced bread. It doesn't. They say mean the top bread, but it's
Oh.
bread. You know.
And
Now,
bread.
but you know where they got that from? Now, when we go to the store, we pick up rolls of bread that's sliced up. Back in the olden days, that didn't exist. You get that loaf, and you had to literally take a knife and cut your slices. So when somebody came up with the idea of selling bread, excuse me, and slices, that's where they got the term, you're the best thing since sliced bread, because I no longer had to go through the process of slicing pieces of bread. Now, keep in mind, if you ever seen those rolls of bread, when they get stale, they get extremely hard and difficult, and you have to throw them away. Whereas if you buy the actual bread from the store, that bread generally lasts for an extended period of
Like
time.
2 weeks.
Yeah, okay. All right. So we talked about denotation and connotation, the difference between the two. We talked about the fact that connotation has a positive and negative. Let's look at denotation and connotation from a global context. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times what we fail to realize is that how we perceive and utilize words here
It's not they do
in
it
the United States
internationally.
is different other places. And it's not even just internationally. Sometimes it's different nationally.
And then
You may go to another state. You may go around the corner. And how you look at words from that standpoint is totally different than how the other people look at words. Yes.
I had something to connect to this. It's like when we went to like North Bay, and it was like different kids there, and we would use our slang like good, and be like, what is that?
What does that mean?
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah,
They were
this
from
girl
Baltimore.
This girl busted in front of me. I she was like, "What is that?" I was like, "You."
I mean, but when you think about DC and Baltimore, they are so close together, but yet their cultures and differences are like night and day. From their music to their style of clothing to how they do things. And we're only about 50 miles away as far as by car. But that just shows you how it doesn't take you having to go far in order for you to experience different places that have different meanings of how they do things. Let's look at the first word here, one, W-O-N. Here in the United States, the word one, read that for me, Deontay. What does the word one mean here in the United States?
One in the United States means victorious or successful in a
Contest. So when I say, oh, you won, everybody understands that to mean that you were successful, you're victorious, you were competing against someone else and you beat them. However, if you go to Poland, it means something that smells good. So can you imagine somebody in the United States picking up a pair of flowers and saying one?
I won.
You'd be looking at them like, what are you talking about? One, what does winning have to do with flowers? But in essence, that would not fly here. Why? Because that is not the dictionary meaning of what we apply to word one. We applied it from a standpoint of something being victorious, successful. But if I went to Poland and somebody was holding up a bouquet of flowers and they said one, they would literally mean something that smells good. Okay? In Russia, it means something that's stinky. So if I came up to somebody and I smelled you, one, you won. Now, if you said it in the United States, they'd be like, one what? But in Russia, they would be offended by it because they'd be like, I'm stinky. What? I took a shower this morning. Okay. So again, be careful when you leave the country, and be careful sometimes when you just go down the street, because you can't automatically assume that how you perceive it within yourself or how you perceive it within your community or society is necessarily the same somewhere else.
Like certain cuss words don't fly.
Exactly. Okay. Like, and we use an example before where, like, for example, in China, it's a compliment for you to belch.
Oh yeah, after you eat. That's disgusting.
That's a compliment that says that the food was really good. It's a compliment.
What do you do if you don't?
I don't know, but or if you leave food on a plate, that's a compliment to them because it says that the food was delicious. Where if you belch here, everybody looks at you like, ew, that's disgusting, that's nasty. But in other places, how you perceive things are different. Look at the next example, duck. Duck. Fajay, read duck for me.
U.S. An animal to bow down to miss something. I mean, an animal is to bow down to miss something.
Okay, so duck has two meanings here. Normally, quack, quack, or if you're ducking to miss something. But if I go to France, the word duck means you're an idiot.
I'll be like, you duck.
Oh, you're a duck.
Jeff, you duck.
Right.
Oh, you're a duck.
So if I go to France and I say duck, you may get hit. But you can literally be telling the person to duck because something is coming towards them, but they're not going to perceive it as that. They're going to perceive it as, right, you may have to duck because you may have a fist flying towards your face because they believe that you'll call them an idiot where you're saying, watch out, you may have something towards you. Now, I think they may get the hint when they see the flying object come towards their head.
No,
but at that point,
at some point,
they'll make the connection. But originally, they're going to think, oh, you calling me an idiot. Let's take this outside to the streets. Okay?
They might even say that. They might even say that.
Right. They may just hit you, and you may even think you may even know it. Now, in Spain, the word duck means a pear, such as a piece of fruit.
What?
How does that mean? Pear.
Okay?
I want to
So, from that particular standpoint, in France, in Spain, they're not going to be thinking about it from an animal or bowing down. They're going to be looking for you to produce some type of fruit in the form of a pear. So, again, you got to be careful about realizing that what we think about or how we perceive things here in the United States is totally different than how they do things. That's the inherent. Yes.
But not only in the United States, some parts of the United States, like Missouri and Chicago, they call it soda pop.
Yeah, that's why that's pop. So if I went to Missouri, Midwest, and I said, give me a soda, they're going to look at you like they don't know what you're talking about.
But if you say
give me a pop, they're like, oh, you're talking about this. And see, from that particular standpoint, we haven't even left the country. We just went a couple of states over, and already how they perceive and look at things are different. Yes.
If you so since in France, ducks mean idiot. What is duck in the?
I don't know how to look it up. It's a different word. It's not, obviously it's not that. It is something else, but I'm not sure.
Was it idiot?
I don't know. Okay. All right, now let's look at, so here are differences in dictionary meanings. Let's look at differences in the colloquial everyday language. Full of it. So in everyday language, In Australia, if I say you're full of it, it's a person who is literally full from eating, or a person who's a liar.
That's not bad.
Okay. In the U.S., if I say you're full of it, that means you're deceitful. A person is trying to get over. You're pretty much, not telling the truth. You're a person who, is pretty much just doing things for your own gains.
No,
Cocky.
like when you get
In a kind of roundabout way, it can mean cocky.
No, my mom, when I get in trouble and I start making excuses, she tell me I'm full of it.
You're full of it. Well, basically, you're full of bullcrap.
So
basically.
technically, United States and Australia in some ways, liar and deceitful,
They're kind of the same, but then there's difference. Now, it's probably based off of the context of how you're using it. Okay, look at the next one. Hack it.
U.S. to break something.
Such as hacking into a computer. To break into something, such as hacking into a computer. Whereas in Australia, the term hack it means to tolerate or put up with something. So if I say hack it, that means that I'm tolerating you. That don't necessarily mean I like you. That means I'm just putting up with you for the time being to accomplish whatever purpose we have to accomplish. Okay? So again, another example of how meanings switch based off of cultures and location. All right, here's the last thing that we're going to talk about. Not only does words have differences concerning their global context, but cultural. When we talk about culture, we're talking about things such as ethnicity, background, race. Yes.
We was talking about that earlier, like when I was like cuss words and stuff. That's what I was talking about.
Okay, like for example, nigger or nigga. Okay. Blacks perceived as my friend, close association. Hispanics, essay also means nigger.
Oh yeah, that was in the book.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Perceived as my close association. So here's the question. Can someone who is black use the term essay towards someone who is Hispanic and vice versa, and they carry the same meaning?
To Kellen, yeah.
Yeah,
To Kellen.
you're close.
Kellen or
Yeah,
Jasmine.
because y'all
Okay.
probably would do the same thing, like just how
But
we
let's say you're not
they
close.
were expecting.
Let's say you're not close.
Let's say
Let's
you go
say
to
it's
another
just
country.
you're just going up to somebody on the street,
No.
somebody you don't know.
Like, what's up, is
Right. What do you
No.
think?
you're gonna be like, what
You
you
get a
call
black eye.
Okay. What do you think?
What I think is like it depends the way you use it. It could work in different. It depends the way how the person takes it. Like if I walk up to somebody in the streets and say, "What's up, my nigga?" That person might be like, "What do you call me?" But it depends. Like if I'm about to find like, "Some nigga you want to see me?" Yeah, it sounds like a different way. But if I say,
Don't
"What's up,
repeat
my nigga?" Let's say I'm black.
Right.
It
So you saying it as an insult?
depends if the way you say it, the tone of your voice, or the way you.
And like if you like the way you look, like if you walk up to me, you have your pants below your belt, a bandana on. I'm gonna originally think you playing, but if you come up to me and you all professional, I'm looking like you crazy.
Right.
It depends.
I think it's the other way around. Like,
So, with that being said, the terms mean the same. However, when it comes to the actual perception of things, it could be different based off of the culture in which you're. Anybody else want to comment on that? Essay versus Megan? Aaron?
what Pache said, it's like how you approach it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like if you approach me and like it's kind of like if you want to fight, so like when you fight, you use all the curse words and all that.
Mm-hmm.
If you look like you want to fight, that's when it's like you'll take it as a fist. But if you playing like, oh, what's up?
Mhm.
It's when-
So you're saying it's based off of pretty much the context in which something is actually perceived.
And
You say even despite cross cultural.
It depends the way the person.
And
uses it.
sometimes your age, like how old
That's
you
what
are.
I say, but that's not always the case.
And it depends how the person takes it. If the person having a good day or a bad day or.
True. So it could be the context. Okay. But we throw it out there because even though in both of these cases the words have the same meaning, how it's perceived or taken could be different even based off of culture. So whether culture here, right here in our backyard, or whether culture in another part of the United States or culture in another part of the world, again, you have to be careful about the utilization of your words because how one culture sees it could be totally different.
That's like
Nah,
us
how another
calling
culture.
the white person a crack.
Right.
And then them calling us the N-word.
They're coming in, right. We're going to see it differently. Right. We're all going to get offended. Okay? All right. So what you're going to do now is you're going to be broken up into small group activities. The first group is you're going to practice identifying denotation and connotation and looking at the positive and negative connotation of words. Group number 2, you take a look at the technology piece, where you're going to look at a video on denotation, basically it's a music rap, and answer short questions, complete activities, and you're going to actually reinforce some of the notes and stuff that you used when we talked about digital and print media. And then group number 3, that group is going to be assigned to read multiple literary passages and identify the connotation within the actual passages. But before we get to that, let me go ahead and just give a quick summary of today's lesson. Again, today's objective was the students will be able to examine definition of connotation and denotation of words and their cultural and global differences with 80% accuracy. We said the denotation is the dictionary meaning. Connotation is the colloquial meaning or how we use it in everyday language. And we said that connotation and denotation can be both positive and negative. And then after you finish your actual centers, you're going to actually complete your exit ticket, and then that will conclude the class for today.